So last night, Donald Trump was so bad on Fox News that they literally had to cut him off. They literally had to interrupt him, Laura Ingraham, one of the primetime hosts, because she knew that Donald Trump was going to get her and Fox News in legal hot water.
Oh, showing an ID to vote is Jim Crow? Your reaction to that offensive comparison, Mr. President?
Well, Jim Crow is their most often used term over the last 3 weeks. I notice it's constantly being used, but they're trying to get something with no voter ID, no signature verification, send all the ballots you can. You'll never have another fair election in this country, just like if you look at the last election, it was disgraceful. It was a third world election. It was a disgrace. Legislatures didn't approve much of what happened. Our Supreme Court should be ashamed of themselves. Under the Constitution, all of the things that they were doing had to be approved by legislatures and ors. And if you take a look at it, the Democrats went to the Republican legislatures. There were five of them. And they went to the Republican legislatures, could not get approval, so they did it anyway. That's in total violation of the Constitution. And what they did was absolutely disgraceful. And if you look at the numbers were vastly in favor of us in the presidential election. It was disgraceful that they were able to get away with it. The Supreme Court didn't have the courage to do what they had to do.
Speaking as a lawyer, we're not going to relitigate the past tonight, but speaking as a lawyer, I mean, I think going forward, I think any candidate running for office has to have an impeccable legal strategy in place long before the election takes place, because a lot of people saw problems coming and verification problems coming, but I don't think the legal situation was in place, and I think that hurt everybody along the way. But I want to ask you about
the courts did not want to enforce it. You know that, Laura. You know exactly that. And the Supreme Court, when you had Texas and 18 states, the Supreme Court said they don't have standing. The Supreme Court didn't want to hear it. And
a lot of Republicans on that Supreme Court. They didn't want to make a decision like they know they had to make. So they didn't have the courage to do what they had to do. Well, moving forward, I have to ask you about this embarrassing meeting between Biden.
So as you can see there, Donald Trump is going back to the well. He's going back to the well saying the Democrats complain about voting integrity. They complain about the bill in Georgia that we've been covering on the channel. But really, I'm the one that had things taken from them. They were the ones that, basically cheated, and that the Supreme Court didn't do their job, and no local officials and state officials did their job, and the courts didn't have the courage. And he basically said what he's been saying since November, which is that he is still the rightful, occupant of the White House. He is still the real president. That's what Donald Trump was trying to say there. And when Laura Ingraham heard that part in particular, she interrupted him. And she basically said, as a lawyer, Mr. President, I don't think we should litigate November again. We should look forward about making elections more secure and giving them more integrity in the future. And she was trying to, at least politely, say, shut up, Mr. Trump. Shut the hell up, please. You are going to get me in legal hot water. That interview happened, and then a few hours later, this morning, we saw that Fox News was being sued by Dominion for $1.6 billion. Some individual Fox hosts have been sued, people like Sidney Powell and My Pillow guy Mike Lindell and Rudy Giuliani. They've all sort of been implicated in individual suits. But Fox was implicated as a network, and certain hosts were pointed out. And Ingraham wasn't on the list necessarily, and I think she would like to keep it that way because she fears financial and legal consequences for platforming Trump. Because one of the arguments is not only that Fox News, promoted it themselves, but that they willfully gave high-profile people like Giuliani and others space on their networks on the air to just tell lies, to tell blatant falsehoods without any pushback repeatedly. And so Ingraham knows that Donald Trump, the former president, is a legal liability to her and to the network. Doesn't that say everything, folks? And so that's where Fox is, guys. I mean, look, they created this bed. They made the bed. They got to lie in it. They created the Trump phenomenon, or at least they helped to mainstream it. They built their entire network identity on Trump, and now they can't say anything bad about him. They can't ignore him because 90% of their viewership still loves MAGA man. But when push comes to shove, every time he's on the air, he gets them in legal hot water. Again, they made their bed. They have to lie with the bed bugs.